Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're diving deep into something really fundamental. Humanity's ancient, complex relationship with the fear of death and our constant search for permanence, for something lasting.
Just a huge topic.
Huge. We've gathered some incredible sources spanning history, philosophy, all sorts. Our mission, really, is to unpack how humans, right from the dawn of consciousness up to today's tech age, have grappled with, well, finitude.
With the fact that we end.
Exactly, and how we've made meaning and sought different kinds of immortality. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and it's important to remember this isn't just about, biology stopping. It's this deep, visceral human thing. It's shaped our cultures, our beliefs, even our laws and tech.
So it's everywhere.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating, as we'll see, is how this primal fear, kind of paradoxically, sparked incredible creativity and connection.
Okay, so let's start way back. The dawn of consciousness. Tens of thousands of years ago. It's really interesting. The sources suggest early societies didn't see death as this absolute terminal end we often think of.
Not like a brick wall.
Right. More like seamlessly woven into life, a sort of fluid dissolution back into the world's soul, maybe, or even a joyous return.
Yeah, like rejoining a collective energy or paradise. There wasn't that really strict, solitary sense of I that's so strong for us now.
Less individualistic, perhaps.
Definitely. But even then, the sources talk about this primordial panic before the void, a real gut-level anguish about the I dissolving, losing meaning.
So the fear was still there, deep down.
Oh, absolutely. This primal fear is described as fundamental, a visceral urge to avoid, well, nothingness, almost a physiological panic.
Like a biological reflex?
Kind of. But here's the twist. That raw anxiety, it actually ignites this fervent search for refuge, for connection. It leads to what the sources call an atavistic call to group cohesion.
Atavistic, meaning really old, instinctual.
Exactly. A deep-seated urge to stick together. A drive for fusion with the other, finding safety in the group. What's fascinating here is how this deepest fear immediately fostered our need for community and order.
Turning terror into togetherness. That's quite something. But, okay, the sources also say mere refuge is never sufficient. People needed more than just safety.
Right. As minds developed, they had to wrestle with this paradox. How can something end, yet somehow continue?
And that's where collective memory comes in.
Massively. The symbolic construction of group identity becomes crucial. Think about lineage, this idea of an unbroken chain. Your people stretching back and forward.
Beyond your own lifespan?
Precisely. There was this deep belief in the continuous pervivencia of the soul of the clan, that the clan's spirit just kept going. Ancestral spirits, the mains, were seen as subtly participating in daily life.
Like they were still around, in a way.
Yeah. And the ancestor figure becomes pivotal, a mediator between worlds, a source of wisdom, hugely important.
So how did they manage the grief, the fear, practically?
Well, they developed these powerful symbolic strategies. The funeral rite is a key one.
Okay.
Our sources call it a vital, potent mechanism. It was meticulously designed, it seems, to reduce the sheer complexity of grief.
To make it manageable.
Right. And crucially, to reaffirm that life continued within the group, within that comforting embrace. It let the community process loss together through ritual.
And then there's the shamanic journey.
Yes, the shamanic journey to the underworld. The shaman was this revered figure, a master of trance and sacred mediation, kind of an emergent solution to this ultimate mystery.
Someone who could bridge the gap.
Exactly. Their unique ability to traverse between worlds, the heavens, the underworld, it transformed that raw fear of dissolution into a kind of profound knowledge.
Knowledge instead of just terror.
Precisely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, these early practices weren't just about coping. They were about actively converting terror into understanding, expanding human perception, really.
And that expansion continues, right? Consciousness deepens, emotions get more complex and narrowized, as the sources put it.
Yes, more layered, more nuanced.
Like nostalgia, that's mentioned as an example, that kind of poignant mix of caring for the past and yearning for what's lost.
It's described as a threshold emotion. Like it subtly opens a portal to something beyond the immediate present.
Connecting us to what's absent.
But still felt. Still resonating in the anima mundi, the world's soul, as some traditions call it.
So through this deepening, we get to liberation from the fear.
Well, yes, but true liberation from the primal fear of death isn't about annihilating the fear. It's more about profound integration of the apparent contradiction.
Meaning Accepting both life and death.
Exactly. Understanding that life and death aren't opposites fighting each other, but intimately interconnected aspects of a single, continuous emergent energy.
That's a very different perspective.
It is. The sources term this the metapoetica of death. It's a sort of poetic, integrated understanding that really challenges our usual linear view of progress.
Where everything just moves forward until it stops.
Right. Instead, here, finality is integrated without breaking things apart. It reveals this inherent coherence, a non-dual unity of life and death.
It's a cyclical acceptance.
Yes. Death isn't a hard stop, but a gentle distension within the very confines of being, an inexhaustible source of spontaneity and creative unfolding. It reflects this idea of primordial symbolization and the cosmic play.
The cosmic play, like it's all part of a bigger dance.
In a sense. And this raises a big question for us today, doesn't it? How can we embrace this cyclical view, where the memory of death isn't just sad, but becomes a structuring narrative, part of the world's story?
That's incredibly profound. So what does this all mean for how we live right now? It seems that the conscious acceptance of finitude fundamentally transforms our perception of everyday experience.
Makes it richer, maybe.
Yeah, making it a living symbol of something absent that paradoxically renders it profoundly present. Acknowledging limits becomes, well, a catalyst for meaning, not an endpoint.
A starting point for new forms of identity, perhaps.
Okay, now let's shift gears. Fast forward to the modern era. Humanity bravely assumes the challenge of forging its own destiny in the face of finitude. That's quite a phrase.
It is. It captures this modern drive.
And the sources talk about the project of human immortality really taking off here. It springs from that same deep urge, right? Self-preservation, connection.
That primordial pulsion, yes.
Yeah.
Leading to this collective yearning for perpetuation, to keep going somehow.
And this yearning, this drive, it translates into two main avenues, according to the sources.
That's right. Two grand avenues. First, there's the legislation of social survival.
Meaning laws, structures.
Exactly. Society erects norms and agreements, incredibly intricate legal structures, all trying to guarantee that civilization itself outlasts any single person.
Fighting against chaos, against anomia.
Yes, the fear of social disintegration gets sublimated, channeled into this relentless quest for legal stability, ensuring symbolic continuity for the species.
Okay, that's one avenue. What's the other?
The other, perhaps more obvious one today, is science and technology. These become potent pathways for the extension of life itself.
Right. Medicine, genetics.
Advanced medicines, genetic manipulations, and now these burgeoning fields, AI, consciousness transfer.
Yeah.
It's all aimed at manipulating finality.
Pushing death back, or even beating it.
Or preserving the I, the self, beyond the biological body. It's like that ancient Egyptian idea of the Ba, the part of the soul that could travel after death. But now it's self-proclaimed and meticulously forged by human ingenuity.
Wow. So the same ancient drive?
Manifesting in legal codes and cutting-edge biotech. It's quite the trajectory.
But there's always a but, isn't there? At the heart of this huge, ambitious project, the sources say there are these profound existential aporias, deep contradictions.
Dilemmas, yeah. Things that are hard to resolve.
Like the overwhelming burden, the sheer weight of the present, the pileup of the past. It becomes too much.
A memory, which should be a treasure, tragically transmutes into an unsustainable weight. It kind of dilutes the present moment.
Makes it less vivid.
Potentially. And alongside that comes this insidious anxiety concerning personal obsolescence, a deep fear of becoming irrelevant in a world changing so fast.
Keeping up feels impossible.
And the systems we build, like law, they also show their cracks. The myths of the human law, the stories we tell about its permanence, face their own inherent fragility.
How so?
Well, the inexorable aging of law itself. It struggles to adapt, right? It reveals this inherent incapacity of human precepts to maintain their imperturbability when faced with constant change.
Laws get outdated, rigid.
Exactly, which raises that key question. If trying to control death and guarantee permanence leads to new anxieties and inflexible systems, what are we actually gaining? Is the trade-off worth it?
That's a tough one.
And out of this complexity, you see things like bioethics emerging, these intricate regulations around extending life. They're a complex solution trying to manage the huge moral consequences.
Trying to find an adaptive ethical equilibrium.
Right. And sometimes legal innovation has to make hard choices, sacrificing continuity with the past or with ancestral memory just to ensure future functionality, prioritizing what works now.
Okay, so alongside law and ethics, we get these advanced myths too.
Yeah, big narratives emerge. On one side, you have technological hope, these utopian visions of endless life, maybe uploaded consciousness.
The transhuman dream.
Right. But then there's the flip side, dystopian anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Fears of cognitive overload, fragmentation, or immortality becoming a terrible curse.
Where being unable to die is the nightmare.
Exactly. And identity itself gets murky, fluidly redefined in terms of techno-social continuity. Who are you if you're a digitized mind?
Big question.
Huge. Yet within this whole project, there's a shadow. The sources call it a profound dialectical shadow of silencing.
Silencing what?
The repression of primordial emotion, that basic fear of death we started with, and also the sacrifice of singularity, the unique individual experience, all in the name of perpetuation.
Pushing down the fear, losing the individual.
It creates this tension, almost social schizophrenia, a kind of collective psychic fragmentation, society pulling in different directions.
That's unstable.
It can be. But this tension also fuels something else, an emergent ecological consciousness, a perspective that starts to question the absolute claims of human law and its most potent and dumb offspring, technology.
Dumb offspring. That's harsh.
It reflects a critique,
Yeah.
right? That technology, for all its power, can lack wisdom or foresight. What's really insightful here is recognizing that true freedom isn't about denying death or rigidly clinging to an inflated self.
So where is it found then? We're circling back, it seems.
We are.
Back to this powerful idea that true consciousness of freedom is found in the courageous acceptance of the cosmic play of existence, seeing life as, well, flow.
An incessant flow, a vibrant dance of transformation and ceaseless becoming, and the mystery of it all, the inscrutability of life intelligence itself, that actually becomes the source of meaning.
Not knowing is where the meaning is.
In a way, the potential, the unfolding. So immortality gets redefined. It's not this rigid final closure imposed by law or technology.
Not a static endpoint.
No, it's the inscrutable dynamic dance of life intelligence itself, a process of perpetual reconfiguration. And its ultimate fulfillment, maybe, is found in embracing our shared finality, valuing each unique life, each singularity, precisely because it's part of this fluid dance.
Valuing the fleetingness.
Perhaps. Liberation, then, in its deepest sense, isn't escaping death. It's a profound soul understanding, a deep acceptance. Ultimately, this deep dive really shows that while consciousness is amazing at forging masks, creating these magnificent illusions to find order, true wisdom seems to blossom when we humbly recognize their limits.
Wow, that leaves us with a lot to think about. So here's a final thought for you, our listener. Considering how far humanity has come trying to conquer death, what new forms of meaning might open up for us individually if we were to fully embrace rather than resist our shared finality? If we saw it not as an enemy, but maybe as a catalyst for creative unfolding in our everyday lives. Something to ponder.